Another amazing week of Lego creations. This week we have some Star Wars, we have some Lego architecture, we have quite a lot of contests going on, so a lot of very good entries to check out. As always, remember that all the builders and the articles mentioned in this video will be linked in the description down below for you to go and check them out. Welcome to the 25th episode of This Week in Bricks. Hi everyone, welcome back. Let's start from Instagram. Here we have Dark Lord of the Brick. Very good builder to check out. This week he has a Star Wars build from Golak. So I think this is from one of the very cool episodes of Star Wars Visions. We have a very nice landscape here, some very nice creatures. Very good land speeder over here. But the highlight of course is all the details on the wall of these very cool buildings from I think the Bandits of Golak episode. This reminds me that I also built quite some time ago the final scene, the final battle from that episode. That was very fun to build. And I also built two more builds from the Star Wars Vision, that very cool running episode that I hope we will continue to see more of that in the near future. I also recommend you to check out more of these builders build. Look at this recent one as well. This is from Kobo, from Jedi Survivor. Very good landscape. I particularly like this bridging rock work on the right side. Moving on, we have Dewback Bricks, another amazing builder. You can check out his work over here. He has this very tiny cute vehicle, which is an extreme climate exploration unit. Very cool. I love the shape of this. Some very interesting parts usage. We have some minifigure ends over there on top. We have an air tank on the side of the build. And I particularly like the shape at the bottom of the vehicle, very round, in particularly at the front left corner with all those interesting angles achieved with the slopes. Very good build. Again, we have Fukutaku 10, we featured before on the channel, amazing 3D pixel artist that has again this very cool Chinese dragon. I think we see some picture of this before, but this is so good and is all built on a slight angle, so this is really nice. Next up we have Insomnia Builds, another amazing builder to check out. He has this sort of desert landscape. This is called the Oasis and is a very good build. I think the platform and the desert landscape really work together well, and you can find a lot of very cool details on the top of this platform. If you go and take a closer look, you can see all the details and the minifigures and the life that they are having on top of this half broken down platform on top of the desert. Very cool. Then we have another familiar face, Trebuchet.cro, with a medieval castle for which we saw a little bit of work in progress before, and this is really beautiful with the rocks going into the wall, with these additional side builds coming off the tower of the castle, and on top we also have a little bit more vegetation and flower. Very balanced, very well executed medieval build. Now let's watch here Alex Lehman Studios with a little bit of steampunk as well. This I think is very cool because usually this is called the balloonist. We used to have this steampunk with the balloon on top in this sort of airships, while here he twisted upside down and put the character actually on top of the balloon. So very interesting design choice over here. Then we move on to Faraway Bricks, another amazing builder, and he has this build from Cars, which is very cool. If you look at the images, you can find also a little video with Lightning McQueen that has a lot of posability. So this car can break down in two different pieces and slightly move, as well as the legs. You can see of course here in the picture also that the wheels are slightly bent. We can have this very cool motion. He also achieved this slanted track very well with those wedge plates on the side. I think this is such a beautiful dynamic build. Now let's move on to the article section. Let's start with tips and bricks. They have some lift technique discussion. All the builders are featured here, a link in their article. We have some very interesting parts usage and some very interesting technique for many different kind of plants and foliage use. They also have a technique analysis of the Godzilla -1 that we featured on the channel before. This is by Dera 0503. This is a stunning build. Here you can have a little bit of a breakdown of all the details of every part of the body of this Godzilla. Very, very good. Of course, remember to check out Dera because he's really knocking it out of the park with the especially that tiger was something out of this world. We feature him multiple times on the channel. Now let's move on to New Elementaries. Here they have an article by Thomas Jenkins discussing this new F1 suspension mount with fender, a new part on the Spin Champions lineup. And this might be an interesting part. You can see it looks a little bit like a chair. So here you can see a little bit of breakdown on all the types of connection that you can have with this interesting new part. Then we also have a review of some of the recent Friends set. We have some cool parts here as well. For example, I really like this rollerblade straight inline skate piece, very, very cool. And I really like actually this set. So reading this article, I found out about this camper van that I think is really, really cool. And sometimes we really need to look, I think, at the Friends set because recently they've been making some very, very cool set, not just for Friends fans, but for all of us. Then let's move on to Brick Nerd, a lot of cool stuff here as well. Sorry, I didn't mention the previous article is by Toby Mac. Here we have a small build by Danko. For St. Patrick's Day, we have Little Paddy. There are the instructions on how to build this, and this such an amazing part usage. You can see those two long green leaves on the side. We have some technic parts there for the beard. We have a green container for the head on top. This is such a small piece count, but such a good build. Then we have Caleb Hewitt with Avatar The Last Airbender in Lego. So here you can check this out. There's a lot of stuff here. We have some official Lego sets as well from some time ago, but then of course we go and walk you through all different mocks and builds coming from this world, and I think there were quite a lot of also recent Lego ideas submissions about this. Then we have an article by Andreas Lenander, the Pi Day Feast. So we are talking here about brick build food items. There's some truly amazing stuff that I think sometimes if you look at this, you need to look closely to understand that it's made of Lego and it's not actually real food. Go and check out this article, very, very good. And it reminds me of a couple of fun builds that I did. One recently, which was the salad piece. There's not much technique here, it's just pieces thrown there, but it kind of works. I did a little bit better some time ago when I did my sushi platter build. That one was working a little bit better. Then let's move on to the Brothers Brick. A lot of cool stuff this week, so I'm gonna highlight just my favorites. Here we have this Plastic Pauper is the builder behind this. Is a futuristic microscale city on a round base, very, very cool, with the city coming out in the center and a little bit of garden on the outside. And I love all the microscale spaceship flying around. Very cool build. Then we have Nikki Flick that we feature many times on the channel with this very, very cool, small, tiny typewriter. It fits on, I think, a 8x8 base, and there's some very interesting parts usage over here. You can go and check it out closely. This is really, really good. And reminds me, he did for sure a better job of my microscale version of the typewriter set that I did, I think, 4 years ago. So amazing job he did over there. Then my last feature from the Brothers Brick is this one by Signor Fett. I hope I pronounced correctly. So we have this very cool build of this lady that is walking on the path of Bolivia and Peru with her alpaca at the back. Very, very cool. It's a nice landscape, but I really like all the shape of the lady, of the face in particular, and the alpaca is done very, very well as well. Very, very cool build. Now let's move on to the contest section. We have the Toys and Brick Forum contest, the microscale contest that I mentioned a couple of times already. We have some new entries by N8 Walker. We have a microscale version of the Endurance, very, very nice. It takes also some nice photo of this. You can see some interesting part usage with some banana pieces and a little bit of interior as well. So this was very well done. Then we have Brixie that we will see later on in the video a little bit more. He has a microscale version of the All Train Shed. It's a Bricklink Designer program. Very, very cool. I love how he achieved the tracks, putting the bars in between the studs and then running the raw piece along. Very, very cool idea. And there is another cool entry. This is by Ento Carlos with a very, very small version of the bonsai tree. I did my own version probably 5-6 years ago, but this is so nice and small and tiny. Very, very cool execution of a very small bonsai tree. Now let's move on to Brick Nerd again. We have the Imperial March. 2 weeks left to build. Here is the Flickr page where you can submit your submission. You can do on Instagram as well. I did 2 entries myself. I have Ahsoka from the Words Between Words, so from the recent Ahsoka TV series. A fun, quick build, this one. And I also did the Fireball from Star Wars Resistance. So these are for the character category and for the vehicles category. I never really built spaceships, so I had to do what I can here with the parts that I have in my inventory, but it was a good exercise for me, and I'm now working on my third and last submission. Then we have Marchitecture 2025. I showed you last time my Singapore skyline, but now we have some really, really cool stuff coming in. This is one of the trophies. This is for the skyline category. Very well done. And then look at this. Thomas Ebert with a St. Patrick's Cathedral. Masterfully done. Very, very cool. A lot of interesting parts usage over here. This one also is amazing. This is by Kamil Banazik, and this is the Planetarium and Astronomical Observatory of Copernicus in Korzov. I'm not familiar with the place. It's such a cool build. You can see on the side of the stairs, the grass area is a little bit slanted diagonally. The landscape is done with some very interesting pieces, especially at the back. We have the trees with the dark green ice cream pieces. We have a flex tube at the back coming out. And also I think all the round shape is achieved with some Technic parts, if I'm not wrong. So this is some really very cool part usage over here. Then we have Cebrix with this very big bridge from Portugal, from Porto. This is a digital build and this is massive. 1.3 meters long, 13,000 pieces. So I think this will not see the light as in real bricks, but is a very, very cool digital submission for sure. Brixie, I mentioned before, he has this very cool Notre Dame de Paris build, instantly recognizable. So he did an amazing job over here with all these tiny parts. Right away you can recognize what is this. Very, very well done. Now, let's talk about the Rogue Olympics. Round 2 is going on now. I forgot to mention about the Rogue Olympics last week, but it's on. Round 2 topic is going to be oops. So I'm going to show you all the builds from this round in the following episode. This is the one that I put for this round. It was a little fun build. Remember, you need to keep the part count below 101. This one in particular had 95 parts only. So next week I will show you the rest of the submissions. Now let's move on to the first week. The topic was Twilight. This is my build with a nice reflection on the water that I achieved with some tiles underneath the water. And I'm going to show you just some of the highlights. There are so many cool builds in this category, and Twilight has a little bit of different interpretation, and I think some builds were a little bit heavy on editing and background and Photoshop. I would prefer sometimes if there's more light on the build itself, but nonetheless, some really amazing build. I'm just gonna light some because there were like over 40 submissions. So we have some big guns coming in this year. We have Wumi Ward with this very, very cool build at day's end. Very, very cool. There's some fantastic part usage for this cat. Like there's a helmet, there's I don't know if it's a Batman helmet on top, and a black sausage piece. This is very, very cool. Then we have Stentie with Rogue Ronin 2025. I think also this is a call to the Rogue Ronin collaboration that they did recently, and we mentioned on the channel before. Again, here some very cool part usage. Then we have again Brixie, or Brixie, I don't know how to say, with a Dracula submission. Very, very cool. Fits the team very well, I think. We have Into the Dusk by Bricklayers. We can see a lot of this sort of sunset twilight build, very, very well done, and I like here how the foreground of this build is very dark and contrasts very well with the background. Then we have Sir Darian with 101 Bricks Airy Despair. Again, here we can see, of course, there is a little bit of editing, a background, but the build is very, very well done with this werewolf looking at the sky, and I particularly like how he achieved the shape of these clouds around the moon on top. Very, very well done. We also have Valinor Dummerang. I don't know German, so I don't know exactly what that means. Anyway, Twilight of the Trees. This is by Christian Rau, that is behind the Marchitecture contest. And this is a very cool build with a little bit of force perspective. I like how those big slopes at the front look like to achieve this terrain. One last build from the Rogue Olympics from Kleiner. We have Maki Messer. Again, this is German, so I don't know exactly what it means. We have a very nice use of lighting here with the shadow of the minifigure under this bridge that is made with some Duplo pieces, if I'm not wrong. So this is a very interesting build. My suggestion for Lego ideas, we are going to look at LEM design. I think this is unlikely to make it as a Lego set, but it's such a cool and fun idea to have the Homer Simpson coming out of the bushes. It did very well, actually, considering the parts that we have available in the Lego inventory. It's just a really fun scene that I would love to have, but it's going to be unlikely that it made it into a Lego set, but you can go and support it on Lego Ideas. A little bit shorter YouTube section today. We have a video from Brick Fanatics that made a good job in highlighting all the new Series 7 Bricklink Designer Program sets, and I'm happy that the sushi restaurant that I feature a few times here on the channel made it an official Lego set, so that is going to be for sure my highlight when will be time to purchase his sets from the Series 7. Then we have again One by One Brick is expanding his Viking village underground with a dungeon. Very, very cool dungeon build, and he also expanding a little bit on the landscape around it. Very, very, very good. Then we have Eiffel TV, very cool Lego city. There's a city update, you can go and check it out. They have hotels, they have a skyscraper, low-rise building, a very nice beachfront. This is a very, very cool city to go and check out, and they also have a lot of custom stuff in it that you can find on their website. On my channel this week, I posted my Leonardo da Vinci workshop where I use a Harry Potter set, modified it in order to build around the Leonardo da Vinci flying machine set. I also have a members only vlog with the behind the scene of my Star Wars build for the Imperial March. You can go and check it out. And a new video about those is coming out on Monday. If you want to support the channel, consider to make some purchases on Amazon US. I would always recommend here the Tranquil Garden. It's always on a 20% off, and it's such a beautiful set. Link in the description down below. Otherwise, you can just consider to leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. And maybe go and check out one of my previous videos. Here you can see the playlist with all the previous episodes of This Week in Bricks. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next week. Ciao, ciao.